Hello, boys and girls. This is Stewart A. Swerdlow, and this is the Expansions News Podcast for the first week of June 2017. And as you know, Janet is away in the Italian Alps with her entourage, and here I am, taking care of everything that myself, and I'm leaving next week to the island of Nevis, which I'll tell you about in a little bit. Anyway, a lot of news to talk to you about. First of all, a billionaire aerospace entrepreneur who has been recently working with NASA said that he absolutely is convinced that there are alien visitors living on the Earth. Now, remember, he did say they're coming and going. He said they're living on the Earth. His name is Robert Bigelow, and his company is Bigelow Aerospace, which has habitats for the International Space Station. And he was speaking with on an interview with 60 Minutes, and he said that he is obsessed with the aliens, and that he has invested millions into UFO research. When asked whether he believed in aliens, Mr. Bigelow responded, "I'm absolutely convinced that's all there is to it." There has been and is an existing presence, an ET presence on the Earth. Well, he would know that, wouldn't he? He also said, "I spent millions and millions and millions," I wish he would give me a few, "I probably spent more as an individual than anyone else in the United States has ever spent on this subject," meaning the aliens. The correspondent, Laura Logan, who was leading the interview, then asked Mr. Bigelow whether he felt it was risky for him to say in public that he believes in aliens, and if he was worried that people might think he was crazy. And his response, "I don't give a damn, I don't care." Well, I must be related to Mr. Bigelow, because I don't give a damn or I don't care either, because the truth is the truth. And he also said, "It's not going to make a difference. It's not going to change the reality of what I know. You don't have to go anywhere. It's just like right under people's noses." So he is telling the truth, but why now? What's going on? What's being planned that this now has become public information? We will see very soon, I think, before the end of the summer in the Northern Hemisphere. Interesting information given recently about the death of Princess Diana. After all these years, she's still in the news. Apparently, the Mercedes in which Princess Diana was driven to her death was a dangerous, rebuilt wreck that safety concerns were ignored. French TV claimed that the car was not fit to be on the road and didn't hold if driven at more than 37 miles per hour. And that was just 2 months before the fatal high-speed crash in Paris in August 31, 1997. And according to businessman Mohammed Fayed, whose son Dodi Fayed was Diana's fiancé, lover, whatever you want to call him, he said the car was owned by Étoile Limousines, which provided chauffeurs and cars to the Ritz. And a Paris photographer by the name of Pascal Roustin told the French radio station that the car was hugely dangerous, had been stolen, and driven into the ground earlier in that year. The Ritz car was a wreck. It had crashed before. It had been rolled over several times. And he said it had been broken up, but permission was then given to remake it. So apparently it was a setup for the death trap of Princess Diana. He said 2 months before the accident, it was necessary to get rid of this car, and at more than 60 kilometers per hour, or 37 miles per hour, it didn't hold, meaning it would have fallen apart. And he told his manager that they had to sell this vehicle. The car was condemned as scrap, but finally recovered by a mechanic who repaired it and then resold it to Étoile Limousine. He said it was not repairable and dangerous. The expert added he offered a view that was supported by insurance brokers. Mohammed Fayed always claimed this is the father of the Diana's boyfriend, that Diana's death was the result of they say here, a bizarre MI6 plot ordered by the royal family. But in 2008, a British jury delivered an inquest verdict of unlawful killing caused by Diana's grossly negligent chauffeur Henri Paul, who lost control as he raced up to 120 miles per hour through the Alma Tunnel while he was drunk and on antidepressants, and that is absolutely BS. It's not true. Perhaps this cover story is designed now to protect the royals from something that's coming up very soon. So we will find out shortly why this is in the news after 20 years later. Now, interesting story. Russian President Vladimir Putin says he's convinced the Syrian government was not behind an alleged chemical attack which killed dozens in the country last month. And he agreed with the new French President Emmanuel Macron, who said, according to our information, there is no proof of the use of chemical weapons by Assad. Now, this is very interesting, a connection between the French and the Russians again. Assad, a long-standing Moscow ally, dismissed the allegations as 100% fabrication. Macron also said that France would respond immediately to any use of these chemical weapons, and the Russian leader added that Macron had agreed with him that this issue should be placed in a wider context. So, Putin also said just the other day that the story about Russian interference in U.S. elections was a CIA false flag, and I agree with that. I think that is absolutely correct. Now, the very recent political news about Kathy Griffin, the comedian, and what she did doing that video, holding up a mask of Trump's bloodied, severed head. Now, nobody knows what she wanted as a reaction from this, but she is now in a big problem. She's suggesting that comedians like her will symbolically take Trump down with their wit and humor and moral superiority. But this video that she did was not funny, not witty, and not moral. In fact, she recently issued a statement saying, in quotes, "Obviously, I do not condone any violence by my fans or others to anyone ever," and she apologized. But then she goes on to saying that the Trump family is bullying her, destroyed her career. She's finished. Everyone has canceled her schedule. But you know what? Here's the thing with Kathy Griffin. I personally used to like her. I thought she was a great comedian. I loved her shows. I loved her act. But she really went too far this time. I don't know who put her up to it. I think she was set up by somebody. And you know what? It doesn't matter what her point was. It doesn't matter who she was attacking. What she did was wrong. And if she had done that, or anyone had done that to anyone else, they deserve to be eliminated in their career because it is incorrect and immoral. So, Kathy Griffin, stop blaming the Trump family for attacking you. You started it. You did this. Take the consequences. You're done. Learn how to clean toilets. My opinion. And quite honestly, I thought she was great. And you know what else is very interesting? Her friend, Anderson Cooper from CNN, and she did for the last 10 years the CNN New Year's Eve show with Anderson Cooper. He attacked her, and she says he betrayed her. Well, that just proves my point about people like Anderson Cooper and all those who work at CNN. They are little lackeys. They say and do what they're told. They have no mind of their own. They have no personality of their own. So these best friends, he attacked her, he disassociated to save his freaking career. Dump her. That tells you a lot about Anderson Cooper. He's just a puppet. he has no talent. My opinion. Now, continuing on with Donald Trump, who pulled the United States out of the Paris Accord on climate change this week. And I quote, he said, "We don't want other leaders in other countries laughing at us anymore." A little bit late for that, Mr. Trump. "And they won't be." They are. "And they won't be." Of course, he says things twice. They are. They are. Okay, Trump, get it. "I was elected to represent the citizens of Pittsburgh, not Paris." What about the rest of the frickin' country? Okay? Pittsburgh is an armpit. Okay? Hence the word Pittsburgh. And Barack Obama launched an all-out assault saying Trump joins a small handful of nations that reject the future. Okay, so the CNN and Fox are saying that now the United States is associated with Syria and Nicaragua, who also didn't sign the agreement. Okay, so let me get this straight. So if I don't like chocolate and Adolf Hitler doesn't like chocolate, that makes me associated with him. That's the logic behind all of that. Stupidity. Trump said in the White House Rose Garden that major polluters like China are allowed to increase their emissions under the agreement in a way that the U.S. cannot. And India is hinging billions of dollars on foreign aid depending on their cooperation or not. Leaders of France and Germany said the decision was regrettable and it was non-negotiable. Well, guess what? It is negotiable. Trump said the agreement is a massive redistribution of United States wealth to other countries. True. This agreement is less about the climate and more about other countries gaining a financial advantage over the United States. Well, that's true of every agreement that's ever been made. And Trump said he would end the United States participation in the United States Green Climate Fund for the same agreement. Listen, this whole global warming stuff is garbage anyway, and Trump is right. I don't agree with him on everything, but in this case I do agree with him. He said, foreign leaders in Europe, Asia, and across the world should not have more to say with respect to the U.S. economy than our own citizens and their elected representatives. I agree with that. The Paris Agreement handicaps the United States economy in order to win praise from the very foreign capitals and global activists that have long sought to gain wealth at our country's expense, and I agree with that as well. Trump said he would be willing to get back into the accord, but only if he's allowed to renegotiate the terms of the United States. And this is what he says also. As someone who cares deeply about the environment, which I do, I cannot, in good conscience, support a deal that punishes the United States, which is what it does, and I agree with that also. For example, he specifically names India and China as countries that can do whatever they like to the detriment of the United States economy, and that's what it's designed. It's designed to make the United States a third world nation, which we kind of became already. For example, China will be allowed to build hundreds of additional coal plants. Well, I'm not against the whole idea of this. So we can't build the plants, but they can, according to this agreement. And India will be allowed to double its coal production by 2020. Hello, what's the point of the agreement? Think of it. India can double their coal production, and we have to get rid of ours. I have to agree with him. Now, what is the Paris Agreement about? The Paris Agreement is the first large-scale global agreement to combat what scientists say is climate change. Yeah, there's climate change, but not what they say it is. And the aim is to keep the global warming below 2 degrees Celsius in this century. Well, guess what? It's already below that. So here's the thing. You know, Janet is in the Alps. It's June. It's summertime in the Alps. And Janet sent me a picture recently of her and my son Jonathan and all the people with her walking on snow this thick in June in the Alps. That's not global warming. And I have pictures which hopefully she'll post on Facebook, and you will see Janet in June in Italy, in snow. Not global warming. And by the way, people, here in Michigan, it's been freaking cold every morning. I open the door, let the dogs out, I'm like freezing. It's June. Back to Europe. Hungary's prime minister said that the billionaire George Soros, someone should lock him in a closet, by the way, what he has done is a declaration of war, and I agree, because he accused Soros accused the prime minister of Hungary, Viktor Orban, of a corrupt mafia state. Really? That's hilarious. Okay, Orban alleged that the Hungarian-American investor, and listen, he's not Hungarian-American, he's Hungarian who escaped to the United States, was paying agent-like networks of non-governmental organizations to enforce his policies, including the promotion of migration in Europe and Hungary. And he said, and the Prime Minister said, this is a declaration of war. It is. We are facing a financial speculator who has made a lot of money while plunging many into poverty. Absolutely correct. And Orban was replying to Soros' speech at the Brussels Economic Forum, where Soros had a problem with the rule of law in Poland and Hungary. Why? Because they won't let immigrants in. Soros supported plans to bring 1 million migrants a year to Europe. Why? The Hungarian government is defending its borders, building fences, and under these circumstances, the Soros plan can't be carried out. And that's why Soros is against them. He needs to be put in the home and take his medication. Now, Russia has conducted 5 successful test flights of a hypersonic missile, which is almost impossible to intercept and renders Western defenses obsolete. It's called the Zircon missile and can travel up to 4,600 miles per hour, or 5 to 6 times the speed of sound. This is alien technology, people. The speed of the Zircon missile makes it extremely difficult to target with anti-missile systems, and Western defenses are now obsolete. Okay, so slowly, alien technology is becoming public. And I would say, in the next few months, watch for new deadly laser weapons to be revealed. Some of this has been revealed already with the United States. Watch this again in the near future. Airlines, my favorite topic. JetBlue Airways and Delta Airlines will test facial and fingerprint recognition technology at 2 U.S. airports to replace boarding passes. JetBlue will start next month, meaning July, on flights from Boston to Aruba. And Delta said they're also using identification in Washington airports that may replace boarding passes. Meanwhile, in Europe, KLM airline in Holland is, starting since February, began using face scanning technology for boarding at Amsterdam Schiphol Airport. And what happens is a custom designed camera will take a photo and transmit it to U.S. authorities to compare against databases of passport, visa, and immigration images. That's very interesting. And according to Gil West, the Delta Chief Operating Officer, he said, quote, "We're rapidly moving toward a day when your fingerprint, iris, or face will become the only ID you'll need for any number of transactions throughout a given day." Now, Mr. West, listen, this is only until someone invents a way, which I'm sure they already have, to create fake fingerprints and iris images so that you can transmit that, whatever implants you have in your eyes and your fingers, it's going to be screwed up anyway. Let's go to ancient Egypt. Now, we've all heard stories about how ancient Egypt, the pharaohs were connected to the the Nubians and the Sudanese and the Sub-Saharan Africans and blah, blah, blah. Well, a study published on May 30th in Nature Communications includes data from 90 mummies, and I'm not talking about British mothers, but 90 mummies from Egypt, ancient Egypt, buried between 1380 BC and 425 AD in Egypt's New Kingdom, which was during the Roman era. It said that, according to the genetic material, these mummies are more related to present-day Israel and Jordan, and that the modern Egyptians inherited their DNA from Central Africans. So it's the modern Egyptians that are connected to Africa, not the ancient Egyptians. And according to this information, and they took the DNA from bone and teeth, so there'd be less likely contamination of people who touched the bodies, etc. And it said more than half of the mummies we studied had pretty decent DNA preservation, and that it showed that the ancient Egyptians shared little DNA with modern sub-Saharan Africans. Instead, their closest relatives were people living in the Neolithic and Bronze Ages in the Middle East and Europe, so that ancient Europeans were more connected to ancient Egyptians than modern Egyptians. And according to this information, it says that probably about 700 years ago, that's when sub-Saharan African DNA infiltrated into Egypt. Has nothing to do with ancient Egypt. And recently, and this is an aside, a study also showed that humans were in Europe longer than Africa, which means the whole story about the Africans' DNA being the original and spreading around the world is fake, and that the real migration history is now being revealed from Europe, not Africa. Now this is my favorite story of all, swearing. Because you know, I'm not politically correct, I like to use bad words, etc. And according to this study, swearing is good for you. This says that shouting expletives mends a broken heart by diluting the intensity of the pain. I agree. I feel so much better when I scream bad words. They found swearing works in aiding what they define as short-term social stress. I have long-term social stress. And it could be anything from a lover's tip to social exclusion. Now, these experts from New Zealand, okay, they're from New Zealand, so let's keep that in mind, says that curse words have the power to relieve physical pain. Yes. Those who were given the opportunity to swear said they had less social pain when they were asked to recall traumatic experiences, and there was no heightened sensitivity to physical pain when they used curse words. Now here's the best part of the whole thing. It says swearing is a sign of intelligence. I've been saying this for decades. I'm so glad Janet's not here right now. But research has shown that people who swear are more likely to have a bigger vocabulary than their clean-tongued peers. Because people who are like dopey, they don't know big words, so they can't swear like I can. And also that people who swear are more confident using words and are more articulate than others. God bless the New Zealand people, seriously. Kiwis rule this week. So that's my news for now. As you know, Janet is in Italy in the snow in June, measuring the depth of the global warming. Yes, okay. And I go to Nevis, the island of Nevis, next week, so you will not see me, but you will see Janet alone next week. Please remember July 8th is our Long Island class in Glen Clove, New York. We are actually, it's being booked up. There's only 15 to 20 spaces because it's in a private home, and it's already being booked up. So if you want to come, you better sign up ASAP. Remember the September Spectacular, the first half of September. And please remember October bus trip. That's the one I'm waiting for most of all. And people, I had asked you a long time ago if you have questions for me to answer on the podcast to send in your questions, but nobody's done it in like a year. So I'm assuming that either you don't care or you're just too lazy. So if you want questions, send it in, and the second half of June I'll start looking at that and answering the appropriate questions. And that's all I have for now, people. I must get ready to leave. And I hope to see you in September and in July. And until then, I wish you a very happy holiday season for the summer. And see you next time when I come back. Oh, and by the way, when I come back, I will be knighted and a doctor. So, deal with it. Bye for now.